Made man here. Y'all know how I get down. We talking boxing, man. Man, y'all know me, man. I always got a thing for the underdog story, man. The thing I hate to see the most is to see good fighters get shitted on. You know what I mean? I hate to see good fighters get crapped on when they deserve better. I'm talking about Luis King Kong Ortiz. This is a heavyweight fighter that we seen give a real valiant effort against the American champion, the real champ Deontay Wilder, in which he almost beat my main man Bomb Squad. He came real close. It was a hell of a fight, right? Well, I'm listening to a recent interview by Eddie Hearn. And Eddie Hearn, they asked him, like, would you ever consider putting Luis Ortiz against Anthony Joshua? Should I say vice versa? Would you ever consider putting Anthony Joshua against Luis Ortiz? And Eddie Hearn's response was, oh, yeah. Well, he had the chance, but instead he decided to go and face Deontay Wilder. So, he had his chance and, that was it. But, Eddie Hearn is telling like a half story there. And I don't like that because, today's headlines is the WBC had ordered a fight between Luis Ortiz and Dillian Whyte, in which Dillian Whyte did not take that fight. Winner of that fight would have been the mandatory possibly or in line to face Deontay Wilder, something that Dillian Whyte wanted to do. He just didn't want to go through Luis Ortiz for whatever reason. And I don't see any of the other heavyweights running towards Luis Ortiz. And I'm saying to myself, that's always the story. Not only with this Cuban fighters, but mainly Luis Ortiz in general. And so I'm going to tell it right, man. Let's not act like Eddie Hearn did not have the chance to make a fight between Luis Ortiz and Anthony Joshua, because he clearly did. There was a lot of foul stuff that went down with Luis Ortiz a couple years ago. Now, don't get me wrong. Luis Ortiz brought a little bit of this on himself by failing drug tests. But at the end of the day, let's not act like the chance didn't exist that they could have made an AJ versus Ortiz fight. Let's go back to, 2016. All right, Luis Ortiz was on a fight-by-fight co-promotional basis with Eddie Hearn in Matchroom. He was being promoted by his current promoter, Dave Promotions. And on top of that, he was also rolling with Eddie Hearn in Matchroom on a fight-by-fight basis. Now, in 2016, he fought Malik Scott and he fought David Allen. Those are the two fights that Eddie Hearn co-promoting Luis Ortiz. Those are the two fights that he put him in. When clearly at that point, Anthony Joshua was already the IBF heavyweight champion by beating Charles Martin. Now, at this time in 2016, Luis Ortiz forced his way and becomes the WBA mandatory. So, the funny math is, remember Vladimir Klitschko lost his WBA title to Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury vacated the belt, so it was up for grabs. And Klitschko petitioned to the WBA to allow them to put the title into the Joshua fight. That was like the last remaining piece of the puzzle for Eddie Hearn to make that fight, remember? Now, they didn't make Klitschko fight Luis Ortiz for the WBA belt. No. They threw that belt into the Joshua and AJ fight. Now, that's, whatever, man. That's kind of foul if you ask me, because Klitschko did not fight nobody to get the title back and then defended it. He lost it and then petitioned the WBA and they just threw it into this fight. Made special belts. Remember those belts? Had the images of AJ on it. Had the images of Klitschko on it. Oh, yeah, there was some beautiful belts. But the belt shouldn't have been in that fight. And that's just being 100. Well, anyway. It was said that by Eddie Hearn at the time that, the WBA ordered that the winner of the Klitschko AJ fight has to face Luis Ortiz. And during this time, Eddie Hearn was trying to throw Jarrell Big Baby Miller into the face of Luis Ortiz. Fight Jarrell Big Baby Miller. But at this time, Luis Ortiz got tired of Eddie Hearn and his protection of AJ. He like, you know what, man, I need to expand my horizons. So he brought Al Heyman on board. And Al Heyman started him in the WBC route towards a fight towards Deontay Wilder. Now, AJ then beats Klitschko, right? So, like I told you earlier, the WBA gave AJ, 28, 29 days to make a fight with Luis Ortiz. But then AJ petitioned to the WBA that he doesn't feel as though, or he was objective to the fact that he doesn't feel as though that Luis Ortiz should be the mandatory. Because Luis Ortiz is attempting to make a fight with the WBC champion in Deontay Wilder. Not to mention, there was every article, and there was Eddie Hearn hinting at, as well as AJ hinting at that, well, maybe we won't fight Luis Ortiz next. Maybe we'll go off and defend our IBF title against our mandatory, who was Kubrat Pulev at the time. Remember that? So they was already kind of gearing up to go around Luis Ortiz anyway and go toward the IBF. The problem then comes in. Luis Ortiz fails the drug test against Deontay Wilder. And the WBA comes down on him ultra hard, banning him or suspending him for a year, and also making Luis Ortiz lose his mandatory status. That's where Luis Ortiz messed up. Now, even so much, Luis Ortiz was going to take the fight with the WBC champion, but the rules are, just because he's going to fight the WBC champion does not mean he cannot be the WBA mandatory. Now, if Luis Ortiz would have fought Wilder and beat Wilder and became the champion, then the WBA would have had to remove him from their rankings, because you can't be a champion and be ranked in another sanctioning body. But that ain't happened yet. And you already had AJ running around like, oh, no, he should not be my mandatory. No, this ain't right. But the thing I'm trying to say is, what happened in 2016, though? What happened in 2016? Why didn't Eddie Hearn put Anthony Joshua in the ring with Luis Ortiz in 2016 when he had him signed on a fight-by-fight basis? He put him in there with David Allen and Malik Scott and was looking to put him in there with Jarrell Big Baby Miller. Why didn't he put him in there with AJ? That's the full story, ladies and gentlemen. I hate to see what they throwing to my man Luis Ortiz. And after that performance he gave against Deontay Wilder, man, that shit fear all through the heavyweight division. Oh, they like, oh no, he's too high risk, low reward. No. What you mean high risk, low reward? For one, he's not low reward no more when you got the WBC saying that if we're trying to put eliminator fights together for Luis Ortiz. So it can't be that low reward now, can it? You don't see Jarrell Big Baby Miller running towards Luis Ortiz today. He wants to fight Fred Oquendo, right? You don't even see AJ even mentioning the name of Luis Ortiz. He's saying he got other things to do. So, I don't know, people don't like to tell the full story when it comes to King Kong, man. Good fighter, dangerous fighter. And a lot of these heavyweights know it. But don't act like Eddie Hearn, don't act like you didn't have the opportunity to make a fight between Luis Ortiz and AJ. And now Dillian White running for the hills too. He could have fought it, but he took the Parker fight, right? All of these heavyweights actually could have fought Luis Ortiz. It ain't hard to do, with the exception of maybe Joseph Parker. I don't recall Joseph Parker's name coming across involved in a fight with Luis Ortiz. And I know Joseph Parker was the WBO champion. So he had his focus was elsewhere. With the exception of Joseph Parker, possibly, everybody else had a chance. Jarrell Miller had a chance. All these fighters had a chance, man. All of them. AJ, you name it. Wilder took the chance. He's the only one that was brave enough to stand up and actually take the chance. But they all had a chance, man. And Eddie Hearn can try to play this game and fast talk all he want. He don't realize that there's fans like myself and many others that we remember what happened, bruh. Y'all ducked Ortiz in 2016. You tried to petition the WBA that he shouldn't have been Joshua's mandatory. How the hell did the WBA title get involved in Klitschko versus Joshua when Luis Ortiz was right there? Klitschko could have fought Ortiz for the belt, and the winner of that fight could have got Joshua, right? It's not like that was the same Klitschko that fought Tyson Fury with all the belts. That wasn't the case. So what do we, you know what I'm saying? So this is what I'm talking about. And then they were also even speaking on, I remember at the time, there was a rematch clause. And Luis Ortiz had paperwork. His people had paperwork. I don't know if this got reported at the time, but His people had paperwork as a guarantee from the WBA. Even if there was a rematch clause in Klitschko and AJ, that would have had to wait until after the mandatory fight with Luis Ortiz. So, Luis Ortiz is heavily avoided. He is not no longer low reward because the reward comes that you will place very high. He's currently ranked #1 in the WBC. So the reward ain't that low no more, ladies and gentlemen. It's just that these dudes got a zillion excuses and none of them ain't measuring up. You get me? So if we're going to tell a story, let's tell it right, Fast Eddie. We watching you, man. We're going to keep you in check over here in America, Joe. You're not going to come on over here and tell a bunch of lies. You're going to get checked every single time. And in this particular case, when it comes to Luis Ortiz, ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly what happened. And if you don't believe me, do your due diligence. Go do your own research. You'll come back here and say, damn, man, you was spot on. Real talk. So to the next video, Main Man, Made Man. Don't forget to subscribe. Twitter, Made Man 511. Facebook, Main Man, Made Man Boxing Forum. Google Plus, Main Man, Made Man. I got love for Luis. Now, like I said, he hurt himself. If he would have never tested positive during that Wilder fight, that first fight, or the first time they try to, do the negotiations, you know what I'm saying? And that's what makes Wilder such a heavily respected champion. Because even though Luis Ortiz popped up dirty, he didn't run around petitioning and crying and whining and all. No, he said, you know what? I'm going to give you another shot. How what he did. I'm sure Al Heyman had something to do with that. But I'm saying, he told him, I'll give you another shot. If that was AJ, he'd have been crying the blues. Him and Hearn would have been on any rooftop, and anybody that would listen talking about how bad of dirty of a fighter that Luis Ortiz is. All because they didn't want to fight that man. To the next video. Peace out.